So small island developing states are very vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, and this is why we push more heavily for 1.5 to stay alive. A major hurricane impacted Dominica in the year of 2017. It was a Category 5 hurricane that affected a number of islands in the Caribbean, but every sector was decimated: agriculture, tourism. So persons were impacted in terms of the personal impact on their homes, their livelihoods, their way of life, transportation. Everything was impacted.
We have devastating disaster which affected Fiji in 2016, which was Cyclone Winston, and we can see how psychologically affected our members were, and also physically how devastating it was. They were trapped. They were the only one working to look after the healthcare of the community who were affected. We were mostly concerning on our responsibilities as nurses. But when climate crisis is coming in now, we have seen that there are extra responsibilities that we have to take up in regards to this issue.
We had an entire university, for example, that relocated from Dominica to another island. That was the Ross University. And we lost close to 300 members actually there because these people lost their jobs. So hotels impacted and other businesses impacted because, as I said, the housing and business stock received serious damage, major loss and damage in Dominica as a result of that hurricane. And that was successive because 2 years before that we were affected by a tropical storm that also affected us. It was Tropical Storm Erica.
For us, Solomon Islands, it impacts a lot of the workers, especially those that are living on within the province. And as you can imagine, 80% of our population live on the coastal area. Sea level rise affects our people, and also that it affects the livelihood of our workers or our people that lives in the country.
Quality public services at the core of delivering from preparedness all the way to recovery. All these key sectors are key. Energy, telecommunications are key to responding to these emergencies and are playing a pivotal role in the whole recovery effort after such impact. So public services are critical, and we have to continue to push for public investment to deliver a higher level quality public services.
Quality public service, these are keys for countries such as ours, Fiji, to adapt to the impact of climate change and support communities on the front line of its impact. Health workers, local government workers, community workers, emergency services workers, etc. All these, they make up quality public services. And it is critical that they have an independent and strong union to advocate for their interests.
Being the frontliners in government has worked hard to help the people who were being affected. The tropical cyclones we had when the basic cyclones, now the volcanic eruption, it's our members who are in the front lines helping them. Although not all the public servants are members of PSA, we try to continue on organizing them.
Continuously, unions in the Caribbean are seeking to organize public emergency workers because we think they are at the core of this, including PSI in the region. We've organized training and capacity building around these issues, looking at our national determined contributions, ensuring that issues surrounding workers' rights are taken care of, issues of gender. So very importantly, we ensure that we provide some representation, but organizing for persons who are directly involved in the delivery of those key public services.
We've been adopting we have been training. There's been a lot of training being done to build up public sector workers in terms of climate crisis. Education is a major role, and plus there was a lot of training being done. The capacity we are working on is building the frontline workers especially. They need to know what will be the first response and how they can organize and how they can support our public as well.
The bigger countries who contribute more to global warming need to pay more. We've been talking about the Green Climate Fund. We have to ensure that it's well targeted, that we ensure that more of the investment go into public sector and the public sector. Less privatization, so it's more about people and the development rather than profit. And so we need to ensure that access to that funding is also made more facilitative and easier for small island developing states, that we build internal capacity to be able to access those funding. So we are welcoming this element at COP27 that deals with damage and loss, because in terms of adaptation, many of our small island developing states depend on that kind of funding to ensure that we can build greater resiliency to be able to cope and deal with these impacts.
At the high level, trade unions are not involved in ensuring that we participate at discussion of climate change, climate crisis, or negotiation on this, the effects or the impact of climate crisis. At the top level, they go and they participate, and when funding comes, they're the ones who know where the funding goes. Whereas we represent the workers, we should be involved at the very beginning so that we know where the funding goes, how we should address it, how we should distribute it, to be fairly equal to everybody.
All the cyclones will be getting stronger, flooding will be getting bigger, but we need to be resilient. We need to organize, and we need to tackle and come together. As you know, that the climate crisis is a collective approach, and we need to work together. Yeah.
It is a union issue because we have to ensure that there is a just transition, that as climate affects workers, that union rights, labor rights, workers' rights, which are human rights, are certainly taken care of. That these workers and the issues are integrated.
Unions need to organize workers. We need to start by recruiting, go out there. We know what our prospective members are looking to us for, and we organize them around the issues that are affecting them.
It means to ensure that we provide more awareness. It means that we try to go down to the grassroots level to explain what the transition it is on climate change that affects the well-being and the livelihood of our people.
So as a union, part of our role is about supporting and making sure that our sister organisations in Pacific Island countries especially are strong, and we can offer support, whether it be through sharing of resources, for organising or strengthening their union movement.